Hey, hey,
Hello, hello. What's up,
Hello.
guys?
welcome. Wait, we're missing somebody, but I don't know whether that's not Greg over here. Uh,
No,
just so, just so everybody knows, Greg will be joining. He's running a little bit late. You know, everybody knows this is that super busy time of the year, um, but he will be here. So, everybody, we have Cindy here with us today. Um, Sweet Cindy's honey. Welcome.
Thank
So,
you.
have you ever done a YouTube live?
No, this is my first time.
Oh boy.
My first time right here, right now.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm sorry.
I'm excited. I'm a little nervous, but I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm sorry that you have to look at that Alabama hat. We've been trying to get Bruce to take that hat off, but
He won't.
yeah, he's stuck with that Bama hat. So
I got a little
Oh,
something
uh,
on
let
a
him
little something.
be. Let him be.
yeah, right, right. Yeah. So Bruce, what's going on down your way?
Just busy, man. Just busy.
Yeah.
Trying to juggle everything, but as far as the bees go, we're just trying to check for mites and keep them ready for winter, keep the weight on, and just see what happens.
Yeah.
And I've got, hopefully I'll get a video out in the next few days, but I went and did some mite checks Monday. And in one location, the checks were really good after using Apigard, and the other they were very mixed. And so I'm a little bit, I don't know, a
Mm,
little bit disappointed in the one in the pollination bees in Midland City. They're a little bit just
mm.
real iffy, inconsistent. Some were over threshold, which really stunned me and surprised me. So I don't
Oh
know
wow.
what happened. But the other location in Ozark, the counts were just really good, and so I don't know what happened. But anyway, that's kind of what I've been doing, just kind of busy with some family stuff and trying to keep the job going and trying to figure things out and start getting ready for next year.
Yeah.
And I did today. I ordered some batteries to try out the InstaVape, Rob's InstaVape. I ordered 4 batteries, and that cost almost as much as the machine did. So
Oh my
um, I
gosh.
got the big ones so I can hopefully do a lot of colonies in a hurry. So
Yeah.
not a whole lot going on here, just as far as the bees go. Just kind of holding pattern. I've got so many yards in different places that I'm driving around a lot, but
Mhm.
my drive time is almost as much as my in hive time right now. But Cindy, I've got about 120 colonies. I know it's nothing compared to what you got going on, but I do work full time as well, and so I
I
don't know
get
how people do. I've got some friends that work full time, and they have one of them's got like 400 colonies. The other one has like 1,000 colonies. I don't know how they do it because I do my 120, and that's about all I can do. So I don't know how they do it, but I'm
Crazy.
just not very efficient. But that's what's going on here. Just trying to
Yeah.
figure out how to get ready and keep them alive for right now.
Right. Right.
important. That's the important part. Keep them alive.
Yeah.
Also trying to sell all that dang honey I have. It was the sales were going really well, and now it's just kind of slowed down and kind of plateaued a little bit, and I've getting a little worried. I had about 7,000 pounds of honey this year, and I've sold maybe a third of it, a little more than a third of it,
Oh,
and
that's not
so I
bad.
got to get moving, and it's just kind of stopped. I'm not sure why. I guess it's because the hobbyists have been harvesting and selling. I'm not sure why it slowed down so much, but the
Hmm.
sales have gone slowed way
Yeah.
down. So maybe you can give us some tips tonight, Cindy, how to get rid of honey.
Well,
I know that's your specialty.
Right.
well, I
Right.
do have a customer. I do have customers, loyal customers that they will buy my honey no matter what, even if it's for the next year or whatever. But I have built a relationship with them that they will, they buy my honey, even if I make over.
You still
Um,
get rid of it.
yes,
Wow.
but there
That's
was
great.
there was a time not so long ago where um, I couldn't get rid of it. Like
Hmm.
the the Chinese honey, they were bringing the Chinese honey in here,
Uh,
and everybody got greedy on that, and they were buying that, and they were leaving us beekeepers
hmm.
out of, out of the deal,
Yeah.
and so that was scary, and yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but it's it depends on the year too because So last year, a lot of beekeepers, especially in the middle of the country, they didn't make honey. So like they had shortness of honey. They were like calling everybody that had honey, and like even the price janked up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So it everything, all these little things have to do with it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So we have, what is there, almost 80 so far now, and we've got a lot of our every week uh, subscribers here, our viewers here. Bohemia Bees, he just broke 10K. So Jason, congrats on that. But a lot of people in here, Matt and Sarah, a lot of beekeepers, and I know. And Don, we are going to cover that in a second. So, Don, there, we're going to mute him because he's another one of those Alabama fans. So we don't want to we don't want to talk to too many Alabama fans tonight. But those that I know you don't have as much of a presence on YouTube. Instagram, you have an amazing following on there. But those on the YouTube here that do not know you, um, tell us about Cindy's sweet honey.
Sweet Cindy's honey. Well, Sweet Cindy's honey was born just what I was just telling you about, that I couldn't sell my honey. I had a hard time selling my honey even to my loyal customers. And I says, you know what? They were trying to pay less.
Mm-hmm.
And I says, that's ridiculous, because even they know how hard it is for a beekeeper to go through all this, you know. And I says, you know what? I'm gonna start Sweet Cindy's honey. I'm gonna sell it myself, and I'm gonna be successful at it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where it took off. A year later, I mean, it takes time to build a business, you know, to have your name out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, time and lots of effort, lots of figuring out, you know, especially something that is not my field. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm a pollinator and honey maker, and I make my honey in barrels and I sell it to people. And
Oh my gosh.
different, that was a different field for me. So I had to learn the, you know, all the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
And well, later on, the honey, you know, um, went back on the market. Sorry, I get tongue tied.
That's
That's
okay.
okay.
Just take your time. It's okay. You're doing great.
So later on, yeah, about a year later, uh, the honey went back to the same price. And I know that a lot of beekeepers, because I'm in the list of what's going on in the commercial world of beekeeping. And so we all put money to this organization for it for Chinese honey to stop coming in the country, and they won.
Oh
And
wow.
yes, yeah, and so I'm sure there's still going on, you know, but just very little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And so the beekeepers, the commercial beekeepers, won this thing, and
That's
honey
awesome.
honey went back to the price that it was before, and actually it's going a little bit more. And yeah, after that, like people were calling me, from people that I didn't even know were calling me, hey, do you have honey? You know, we need some honey, because they couldn't get it
Mm-hmm.
anymore. And it was overwhelming, and I'm like, okay, this is a blessing. Uh,
Yeah.
and so I kept Sweet Cindy's honey, just because I I grew a community that actually cares about what I do. They love to see me, um, you know, doing my beekeeping stuff and doing my honey and my
Mm-hmm.
candles, and they like to see the real thing. And
Yeah.
so I'm like, okay, so this is something that it could um, keep growing. So
Mm-hmm.
I kept Sweet Cindy's, and I'm gonna keep it as long as I can. And but that's how Sweet Cindy's was born.
Excellent.
Awesome. Well, tell us kind of, and I know that you talked a little about the honey, but kind of your history. First of all, kind of where you're located. There's the question right there, and how you kind of started in bees, and just kind of how you built it from the ground up, and what's your operation like now? Kind of what are you doing now? So kind of tell us your story, I guess you would say, from the start. Let us know what you've done.
Oh wow. Okay, so the story like behind how I got to be a beekeeper, it's a little sour. It's not because beekeeping is not something I wanted to do at all. It's not. I didn't even know. I was a city girl.
Where from? Where are you from?
I'm from Honduras.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Actually, I was born in New York City. I was born in New York City, the Bronx. And when I was like maybe 3 months old, my grandma took me back to her country,
Oh wow.
Honduras. And so I grew up there in its city, And so I never knew that, the country was out there, the cows and the horses and all just country stuff. And so when I came to New York, um, it was because I had a broken family. My family was like not supportive, like broken, totally broken. And so I went to work for organic farmer here, and the organic farmer had a beekeeper, and
Oh
so
wow.
yeah. So somehow I met him, and he offered me a job. He says, "Hey, I'll pay you $1 more than what he's paying you if you come help me out." It was his harvesting time, and he's telling me he's got bees, and me being from the city, I'm like, bees, like who does bees? Like the honey comes from. I thought the honey was man-made. Like the honey is just syrup that the people make.
Oh
And
my gosh.
oh, yeah, that's what city people think. You have no idea how all my city friends, when I tell them I'm a beekeeper, they're like, "What's that? What do you do?" Like bees, like actual bees. Like, yeah, but bees, like what is that? Like the insect that makes honey that stings you, and they're like they want to see it. It's unbelievable. A lot of you It's unbelievable how many city people just don't know what goes on out here in the country.
Yeah,
And
that's so true.
yeah, it is. And so I thought, so he's telling me he's got beehives and bees and this and that, and I'm like, maybe he's not speaking well, like maybe he's confusing me. I don't know. And he hands me this bee suit, and he's like, "Put this on," and I'm like, "What is this?" Like, what is this? So I put it on. He's like, "Come here, I'm gonna show you." So I come out, and oh my goodness, my blood pressure um dropped down when I see the buzzing, and I'm like, "Oh no, these are real bees, the bees that we are scared out in the city." We see a beehive because we have bee or swarms in the city.
Yeah.
People always tell you, "Oh, don't you mess with that thing, they will kill you." And like I'm sitting there, surrounded by a million bees. And I'm like, I don't think I can do this. Like I had goosebumps all over, and I'm like, do you actually do this? Like you actually, the honey really comes out from bees. He's like, yeah, where do you think it came out of? I'm like, I just look, people made it, which unfortunately it can be true. It can be alterated.
Yeah.
But and so he's teaching me all this beekeeping stuff, and I just, the first day wasn't so good. It took me a while to actually love the bees. I got stung up a lot,
Oh
but
wow.
yeah, but later on, I actually became part of his team, and he says, "Hey, you're such a great worker. You're a wonderful person to be around," and he asked me out, and I say yes. And ever since, That's
Wow.
my turn to be a beekeeper.
So where in New York are you located at? Where's your apiary at in New York?
So the hometown is called Clarendon, New York, which is between the city of Rochester and Buffalo.
Oh, okay.
It's a little town.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're
Okay.
way up north, way up in
Yeah.
Way up north.
northern New
Yeah,
York.
I'm like about 45 miles away from the Niagara Falls in Canada.
Oh
Okay.
wow.
Right here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've been there a couple times.
Okay.
So now you have your bees in New York in the summer, and I only know this because I've been following you on social media for a little bit, so I know a little bit more than some people might. But um, you move them.
Yes. I'm a migratory beekeeper. And
How I can't even, and the number of how many, like, on average. So you have your colonies in New York now. Um, the effort that it must take to move them, and then you move them to Florida.
yes.
What part of Florida you move them to?
We are in Punta Gorda, Florida,
Okay.
Where's that? Is that
which
what
is
part of the
a
state?
little below Tampa.
Okay.
It's are you familiar with Fort Myers?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Did
so it's
you?
right
Yeah.
around there.
So Tim Huffman, I think on here lives right there, close. Isn't that right, Tim? I see him commenting. Says he's from Chautauqua County, which is close to Chautauqua County, which is close to where you're at now. I think he
I
actually
think,
lives
yep,
in. I think he has a bunch of bees down in. Yeah, he's in Lee County down there,
Lee
right
County.
close, right where you're at. So he's a
Yep.
I think he's a commercial guy down there, or I think he's commercial. He's at
Okay.
least a
Yeah.
sideline or
Lee
maybe
County.
commercial guy down there. So that's kind of an interesting story. I guess, are your bees in Florida now, or are you in the
No,
process of
they're
moving
here.
them, or
They're here. We're working on heading that way pretty soon before the weather here gets a little too cold and snowy. We
how
like
many how many how many colonies do you manage, or do you move down there every year?
So we usually run between 12 to 1300. At the end of the year, when everything is harvest and it's time to head down, I usually end up with a little over 850. So right now I got a little over 900
Okay.
hives, which is great for actually the numbers that so many the past years I have lost so many hives. And so I'm running good right now.
Now,
Yeah.
is it your personal business, or do you still manage it with your mentor, or what's the story with that? You,
Oh no, so my husband had a
your
so my
husband?
husband, yeah, my husband is the beekeeper, and he
Okay.
learned from his uncle that was the beekeeper. So let's say that he's how do you call that,
Generation.
second generation beekeeper. Yes, he learned from the uncle. The uncle, I don't know where he learned from, to be honest. But yeah, no, so and he started when I met him. He had 400 hives, and he had
Wow.
a full-time job as well. He
Wow.
was a machinist here, and he worked 10 4 hour or 4 day, yeah,
Four
10.
10-hour days.
Yes, yes. And on the weekends, Friday, Saturdays, and Sundays, we used to do the bees,
Oh
and
my
he
gosh.
had 400 hives. And until one day, I says, you know what? It's time to get you out of that machine shop. Let's get bigger.
Hmm.
And with the blessing of God, we did. We did. We both of us working together. Because
Hmm.
it really, let me tell you, it really takes a partner that really cares and joins you in your journey to actually grow.
Hmm.
Makes
And
sense for sure.
that's what I did. I joined him in his journey, and we both of us worked together at the bees, and from the minute we got up to the minute we went to bed.
Is it just the two of you that manage all of the colonies?
Most of the times we do, but we do have 3 employees.
Oh, okay.
We run 3 employees, especially here in Florida, and they're like semi-retired people or like part-time people. They basically just come for when it's harvesting time or when it's pollination time.
Hmm.
But for the most part, it's just him and I. Whatever,
Okay.
That's great.
it's him and I.
It's
Wow.
a great story. I love that story. That's awesome.
And in Florida, it's just him and I, and maybe one friend that he's got. But in Florida, it's not so much of a. All that we do is feed bees,
Yeah.
and so it just doesn't take too much. Doesn't take too long to, for the both of us to manage the work.
Hmm.
Sure.
Yeah.
But it's longer days for sure. It's long days.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Beekeeping. I've learned beekeeping it's not easy, and it's hard work. And if I always I laugh because friends of mine that they don't know anything about beekeeping, and I'll tell them about the honey and what I sell it for a little bit, and they're like, maybe I could get a couple, and I'm just like, you'll never manage it. I know how you are.
Yeah.
I hear the same stories, and I was just in my mind. I'm like, "Oh, you go ahead."
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Just go,
right.
go on ahead. Yeah. Go ahead and try it. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. You're involved in pollination also.
Yes.
And Bruce down there, Bruce, this was your first year, correct?
No, I've done it 3 years. I don't.
3 years now.
I don't send any. Do you send bees to California to almonds?
Yes.
Okay. And then
Yes.
so they go from Florida to almonds back to New York. Is that what you do? Or do
So
you
they
take them back to
go.
Florida?
So no, they go back to Florida, and then Florida, if they make it in time for the orange blossom, and they'll
Okay.
make a box. But I only sent half of them because my grandma taught me not to put all your eggs in one basket.
Hmm.
And so
That's
I only
smart.
do half, yes, because I've heard so many bad stories that I'm just like so scared to do that. But I do half, and then the other half stay in Florida and they make orange blossom. And when the other half, if they come in time for the orange blossom, they'll make me a box or so. And from Florida, and then I prepare them. At, I mean, Florida in April, it's all busy because at the same time I gotta make my splits.
Hmm.
Whatever, I gotta meet a number that I
Hmm.
got a contract here in New York for 1,200 hives. So I gotta meet that number. And so I make splits. And my queens come around that time. And so we're pulling honey and we're also making splits. And at the same time, we're moving hives to the staging yard so that we can come back to New York. So the month of April is like it's as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's when it gets crazy. Do you sell nukes in New York, or do you just have a pollination contract? Or you mentioned
Just
1,200
pollination.
hives.
Yeah, we don't sell nukes. We don't sell queens. We
Okay.
mostly do pollination and honey production.
Awesome.
Oh, wow.
Wow. So
Wow.
what kind of pollination do you do in New York? Is it blueberries and stuff like that, or what are you
So we do
pollinating in New York?
mostly apples and cherries.
Apples. Okay.
Apples
Oh,
and
wow.
cherries.
Wow. You guys have got quite the business rolling.
Yeah,
That's
and then
awesome.
we do summer stuff like strawberries, blueberries. We'll do squash, cucumbers, um, pumpkins, a little bit depending. Pumpkins is not something I really like because farmers they get to spray their fields a
Yeah.
lot, and I don't like exposing my bees to no spray
Yeah.
whatsoever. And
Pump.
so I would only do the one friend actually that he's very loyal to us, and he considers he loves the bees, and you know yeah, yeah, squash, cucumber, that's about
Yeah.
it.
I
Wow.
imagine pumpkins are a little bit like, I know watermelons can be really a little bit hard on the bees, actually. Kind of a
Yes,
similar type thing.
I let me tell you, I mean, they say live and learn, right? um I did watermelon pollination one time, and I pretty much lost all my bees.
Oh my
And
gosh.
yeah, and not just that, but the farmer pretty much stuck it up to me and didn't even pay me.
Oh
Oh,
no.
Yeah, it was
why? Why is that so hard on the bees? The watermelon.
so they spray. They have to spray their fungicides almost like once a week, because in Florida, the bugs are just take over things really quickly. So they have to
Okay.
spray, and so they have the law in Florida that they gotta spray at night when there's no bees flying. Well, as farmers, they don't care. So
Yeah.
farmer, especially in Florida, they're a little arrogant. Let me tell you. And they're like, they see you as like the bug farmer. Oh, it's just bugs. Who cares about bugs?
Yeah. Yeah.
But you're actually contacted me to bring the bugs here. Like you need them. You need them. And
Right.
why would you kill them? They don't care. After their crop is done, they just don't care, and they just spray the watermelons. They don't tell you, hey, we're gonna spray. Come move your bees. No, they just do it, and then the next day when you go check them, you'll just see bees dead on the ground everywhere.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
so I've learned my lesson that I would never, ever, for nobody, would do watermelons.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I've had some on watermelons here, and they've done okay, but I think our farmer has been really good to not
That's
spray. But
they,
still, watermelons are not. And Brian from the Bohemia Bees just said it on here too. They're not a really good food source, I think. And so if you're putting your bees on watermelons and you think you're going to be able to have healthy bees just from the watermelons, I think that's wrong. But down here we have, if you're familiar with Florida, I'm not sure how familiar you are with the South Georgia, South Alabama area. I'm in South Alabama. We have a
mhm,
tree called the tallow tree, which is a really big producer of honey.
mhm,
And so it's our biggest producer around here. And so as if like the last time I put bees on watermelons, those fields were surrounded by tallow, and that tallow is blooming. It's a great honey crop. And so the bees were getting plenty of nutrition from the tallow trees as well. So they were pollinating the watermelons and receiving nutrition from other trees that surrounded the area. And so they did okay, but still they just don't, it's just not a great, I don't know. It's not a great, first of all, they don't pay real well for watermelons
trying to
around
grow
here.
bees is not a good place to put them,
Yeah. You've
for
got to
sure.
have, you got to have another source, and the bees will pollinate the watermelons if there's,
Yes.
because obviously they pollinate, but they don't get really any nectar. And like you say, I think our farmer, if he sprays, I think he probably did it at night. I'm not sure. The bees were pretty healthy, but they just do better in other areas. I've found, it
Yeah.
seems like,
Yeah.
they don't do great on the watermelons. So,
No. It's because they
um,
don't get that all the nutritions that they have to. You
yeah,
know.
you have to make sure you have another source around them, and they'll do
Exactly.
okay. But I think that's the key. So
Hmm.
Yeah. That's what
anyway,
happened with blueberries up in Maine. We used to pollinate the blueberries up in Maine, and so it was from May to June, and that's all they had. But they don't really collect much nectar from it. Hold on, let me. I got a thing here. I don't know if it's you guys or if it's me. It's me.
What's it say?
It says verify microphone. Okay, you
we
guys
can
can.
hear
Oh,
you.
yeah,
We
we
can
can
hear
hear
you.
you
You're
fine.
fine. You're
Okay.
fine. Yeah, we can hear you.
So anyways, up in Maine it's really hard, and that's all they have. It's just the blueberries, and blueberries don't really have that much nutritional um
Hmm.
stuff. They don't really collect. Once in a great while they'll make you about, depending on the weather too. It's always rainy there, so the bees don't do good. It's really hard on the bees doing
Hmm.
pollination, blueberry pollination up in Maine.
Hmm.
And you got to have other sources of nectar for them to actually make it. And
Wow.
they don't, where I was going, they didn't have it there. So every time I brought my bees back to New York, it was like this little cluster, and I'm like trying to grow them because we're have the honey flows here. And so basically we ended up all summer just trying to grow our bees back until the 1 year we just gave up on that. I'm like, you know what, we're just gonna bring them to New York and let them make honey here. If they make it, they make it. If they don't, they don't. But the blueberries up in Maine, it was hard on them.
Yeah, I know blueberries, like you say, I think they're not a great source. Like down here, like I've got a blueberry bush in my backyard, and my bees will fly right, but they'll be full of bumblebees, but there'll be no honeybees hardly in that blueberry bush. I guess it's just kind of hard for the bees to be able to penetrate the bloom.
Yeah.
And so you have to really put a lot of bees on the blueberries too to get a good coverage. And so it's kind of a difficult thing, I think, at least around here. I think they will pollinate blueberries, but it's just you just, like you say, you got to have other stuff around
Stuff for them to
help.
go.
There's definitely a science to it. I mean, that's one thing people understand about beekeepers is you have to know your area. You have to know what you're doing. And a lot of what you've done is kind of like me in a way, except on a grander scale, as far as you learn through experience.
Yes.
What works best and what doesn't. And you just gotta try things. And sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't. And you hope that the farmers or the people you're dealing with are willing to fulfill their end of the bargain. But I've had good luck with that, but it doesn't always work out that way, I think. And
not for everybody. Yeah.
I know down in Florida, it's so competitive. Just south of me, I live in the very southeastern corner of Alabama. And so we've got the panhandle of Florida below us. Mm-hmm. And there are a lot of commercial beekeepers. You've heard of the Tupelo honey.
Yeah.
That is really close to us. That's probably within like an hour to an hour and a half from me. And people, it's along the Apalachicola River basin there. And it's just a ton of commercial beekeepers all along that area. And so it's not far from here at all, but there are a lot of commercial guys just south of the Alabama line here. And it is so competitive down there with all the different, there's probably hundreds of thousands of colonies, within just not a very far distance from me down here, just beehives there. Now in Alabama, we don't have a lot of, really very few commercial beekeepers. There's a comb law. You can't bring comb into Alabama from another state. Mm-hmm. You're not allowed to do it. You can now we do have there is a way to do it. If you live in Alabama, if you have Alabama bees, when you send them out for pollination, they can inspect them before they go home. When they come back, the inspector will meet you and give you a certificate or whatever. He'll make sure that they're clean and everything. But commercial people can't just flood Alabama and just drop bees off in Alabama. And so it really kind of helps keep our bees.
That's awesome.
It kind of helps us out here as Alabama beekeepers, and we need more commercial beekeepers to get established here. And we're kind of working on trying to do that now, but it's a different, we got Georgia east of us, we got Florida south of us, and a lot of bees in both of those states, I think. And so, it's just an interesting law that we have that really is a benefit to us here in this area.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. I don't know, although I'm just the hobbyist, so I will never, and I'll say this in front of everybody again, I will never have more than 11 colonies. I'll say that again.
She's laughing. She knows, Brian. She knows.
I will never have more than 11 colonies.
When Cindy knows better than that. I want to have at least 11 colonies.
Yeah. Cindy can work 11 colonies in 15 minutes, Brian. Yeah. She can just take care of them.
Look at everybody laughing. It's good that Greg is so close to me, because when I go down to his place, and it's like we were putting Apogard on his colonies, I don't know, it was a week ago or so, and you open them up. I had the job. I was cracking the lids, and he was putting the feeder shim and putting the Apogard on. So I would crack the lid, and it was just boom, boom, boom. We're going down the pallets. Yeah. And every time we go through and do something like that, I tell him, I'm like, thank you for this, because I never want to be like this.
Thanks for experience.
Yeah. My problem is I enjoy the bees too much. So
you want to stop and just enjoy them and look at them. And you can't. You have to go. You have to. What's your job? Is it putting Apogard strips? Let's get it done.
Yeah.
You just can't. Even if you see the queen, it's like, oh, the queen. Nope. Let it be. Bye.
Yep. I know, right. And that's my problem is, when I'm doing an inspection and I'm checking them, if I see the queen, I sit there and I'll stare at her for like 5 minutes, and I'm just like, oh, you know, you can't do that when you're in that commercial scale. You have that timeline, and you have to get that work done on those certain days. Oh,
I'll tell you a secret though. I do. I do. I'll be like, if I see the queen, I'll just have my time, my moment, and I'll just enjoy her. And then my husband will be going because I have my husband
yeah.
going through, And then sooner or later he's like, Sydney, move on. We
Let's
gotta
go. Let's go. Yeah.
Oh,
look.
that's
But
awesome.
did you look at this queen? What is she? Is she Russian? Is she,
Yeah.
like I don't care, Cindy. Let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
What so for your colonies that you have, do you run them, I would imagine you run them all on pallets,
Yes.
and you have single deeps? What type of
I
setups?
usually do singles and or yes, a super.
Yeah.
A honey
Okay.
super. Depends. Like I said, depends on my numbers. If I
Hmm.
need to grow another 300, and I'll just run doubles. But for the most part, it's just a single and a honey super. Supers on the
Wow.
top. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
just quickly, and do you do most of your splits in Florida before you move them back up, or do you try to get them back to New York and then split them up there when you get there? How do you generally do that, or do you do a little bit of both?
No, I don't do a little bit of both. I do all my splits in Florida, and when I get to New York, I try to concentrate on making honey because I've learned that here in New York, you just can't do both. You can't split bees and expect them to make honey because it sets them back. So either you sacrifice one thing or the other. So when I'm in New York, it's beautiful for honey making. It's a good honey making, especially where I am. It's a good honey making place here. So I gotta concentrate on making the honey here. So I do my splits in Florida, whatever they gotta be split. Once in a great while, I'll try nukes. But I've never been successful at making splits here in New York. To
Hmm.
be honest with you, they just they're just they just won't grow. Like they
Mhm.
just set in that stage and they're just like doing their thing, but they just won't grow. Like if I
Hmm.
when I bring a mother hive here, they'll just woof.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when you split, do you have a favorite? I'm sure you have a favorite way to split. What is your So you have your bees at a deep and a medium to go to California for almonds, right? Is that how you
Yes,
send them in that configuration? That's what I
yes.
do. When they get back, kind of, are those the bees that you try to split, or you told me you have a goal, right? So whatever you need, you split. So what method do you use? If you could, is there a way you could describe that? Do you have a favorite method, or do you just kind of use different methods, or what do you do? How do you like to split bees?
I do, yeah. So sometimes I'll try to even do splits in December, depending on the hive. So what November, um, we're thinking about being there November 15th. And so November 20th, we start tipping the hives forward. And if we see a cluster this big, and then we just categorize from 1 to 5. A cluster this big is a 1. A cluster this big is a 5. So we mark it on the boxes, and whoever is a 5 gets to be gets to put another deep box on it, and
Okay.
it's gonna make us the split. And those hives get to go to California because the bees, when they come back from California, they're amazing. Amazing. They're just like uh, busting out of the hives.
Hmm.
And so those hives, later on, we move them. The threes, twos, and ones, they get to stay in Florida and make honey. And so when they come back from California, we have to go. We have to like make the split. And what we do is we use the acid pads, um, and we try to run the bees down to the bottom box, and just pull the one box out of it, put the excluder on, put it back on, and put the cover on, and the next day we usually get up early in the morning, 4:35 before the sun comes out, and we pull that one box out and put it on a pallet and move it to a beer. And then that day, I mean, the sun will come out. It'd be 9 or 8, 9 o'clock in the morning by the time we're actually done moving 100 to 200 splits. We put the queens in.
You've mated queens?
We usually got the queens. When we're gonna do that, we usually got the queens. We usually call our queen breeder and say, hey, we're gonna be making the splits such and such a day. Can we get our queens there? And he's like, yep. So when we do this, we usually have our queens already ready to put in.
So do you send them to California in double deeps, or do you send them in a deep and a medium?
Double deeps.
Okay.
Yes.
10 frames? 10 frames?
Some of them can fit 10 frames, but usually 9.
Okay, but they're 10 frame boxes though, right?
Yes, they are 10 frame boxes. It depends if I put spacers on them, and then they'll do the 9 frames. But if they don't have the spacers, and then I'll try to squish the other frame in.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I send mine in a deep and a medium, so it makes it a little more tricky to split when they get back. I like that technique though of running the bees down. So what I did last year is I got the medium box on the bottom. I changed them off so the medium ones on the bottom. And I pulled, found 2 or 3 frames, 4 frames of brood, and moved them up into another box with queen excluder. Let the bees come up, and then I took those boxes like you're talking about and moved them. And it works well. It's pretty quick, but you got to have the deep box on the top if you're going to do that. It's hard when you're trying to do those deep and mediums together to do some of that stuff sometimes. But
yeah.
So you don't find that your second box is too full of honey? Do they have some brood up in that second box usually to be able to make those splits?
Say that again.
So when you bring them back in double deeps,
is
there plenty of brood in that top box to be able to just pull that box off usually?
Yes. So that's okay. So when we do that, when we put the acid pad on them, and there's no bees, and then we go through the frames and make sure that they actually have 5 frames of eggs and brood and pollen. Okay, but at least 5. If there's more, there's more. If they only have 3, let's say for some reason they only have 3, so what we do is we go to the bottom one and try to get more from the bottom to the top.
Okay.
And mostly worry about the queen. That's why we do the acid pad, because we don't want to see the queen.
It's like a fume board, right? The fume board where you put it and it runs them down.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Like I said, sometimes in December I'll try to make a few splits to get ahead, and so we shake them. We shake the bees because we have the time to actually go through. I like to go through the frame by frame, and if I see the queen and I find her, and then I just try to put her down, and then I put the excluder and back on the box.
Yeah. That's my favorite way to split too. I like to do that.
I love it because I just love finding the queen.
Yeah. I love to have all the bees in the bottom and have them come up. That's such an easy way to do splits as opposed to trying to. It's just easier for me. Yeah. We have a question here. What do you think about almond honey?
I hate it. It's horrible. It's very bitter.
It's like it is bitter. The initial taste to me is it tastes kind of like almonds, but then that bitter taste hits you, and it's like, ugh, it's just kind of gross, and it's an aftertaste. Jason from Bohemia Bees has been on me to send him some almond honey, and I just don't ever harvest it, and so I don't think about it until I've already got I have all the boxes configured, so I don't ever get any of that in my actual honey that I try to sell. I just make sure it's all below the supers where I put the honey supers on. So I never remember to send him some. Next year I got to try and send him a little bit because he is always asking me. The Bohemia Bees, Jason, he wants to try it, but it is very bitter.
I will never have almond honey because I will never have more than 11 colonies. I will never send bees out to the almonds. So, Bruce, I'm going to count on you also. When you bottle up Jason's, you can send me don't send me just send me like a little bear.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do is send a little bit. It's just it might even be scrape a little off with the comb and everything and send it. I'm not gonna send much. I like to let them.
You're not gonna have on your pancakes for sure.
No, you don't. Yeah, it's a bitter. It's just like and I don't know, Cindy, if you're familiar with like different types of nuts have like a meat, and they're like it's down here in the pecans. It's like it's not the nut part, but it's like a little berry. I'm not sure what you call it, but it's very bitter if you bite into it, and that's a lot what it tastes like. It's just a real bitter. It's just like it'll almost make your eyes water. That aftertaste is just really strong, and so
the almond honey.
Yes, it's very bitter.
Very bitter. Yeah.
Oh wow.
And it's not like I say, it's the initial taste. It's not bad, but then it just hits you like in a couple of seconds. It's just like,
and you're like, oh,
yeah. That was a good. I like that. That's exactly what you're just like. Ugh. It's exactly what it's like.
Yep.
Interesting.
It's crazy. Yeah, it's pretty wild.
Sometimes actually, my bees will come with a box, because I send them with a deep in a super and a medium. Sometimes, if it's a good year, they'll come with a full super of almond honey. I give it back to them.
That's what I do. Yeah.
Yeah, I give it back to them, and I try to split it with my other bees that stayed in Florida, so that they can actually have their feed. Because you never know. I've learned this too. You don't count on the weather. You just count on the weather. So I gotta be prepared that even though New York is a beautiful state for making honey, you just don't know if that year is gonna be rainy spring, and your bees are not gonna get to making honey, and you gotta prepare and set them up with feed. So I always leave feed on my bees no matter what, and so I would use that honey for that to feed them.
So speaking of feeding, that's another topic to discuss. How do you? I know you mentioned leaving honey on them, but what is your feeding protocol? When you take them down to Florida in a couple of weeks, will you just be putting out syrup for them, or what do you do about feeding your bees?
I do corn syrup, fructose, which is like, is it fructose or
high fructose corn syrup? High fructose corn syrup, yes.
Okay, which is like a little thicker stuff. I do the little thicker stuff so they can actually pack it in their hives so that they can slowly get to it. Because sometimes I will run to New York and get equipment, because I don't only move my hives, but I move also my equipment. So sometimes I got a few trips back and forth to come get my supers, or to come get my excluders, or whatever is it that I need. And sometimes I'll leave them there for a while, and so I don't want to worry about them. I don't want to worry about them eating the whole bucket really quickly, and me not being there to feed them again. So I do the little thicker stuff, corn syrup, and I do the Pro Health stuff, and I do in buckets. I feed them in buckets.
Okay.
That's what Greg, who hasn't made it on yet, but Greg actually sells those buckets with the plugs in them. That's one of those things that he sells. So he's got a pretty good business doing that, and he's a believer in those buckets. And he, he uses, I think, the Pro Sweet, which is it's like a 3-to-1 type mixture, and so it's thicker as well.
Yeah.
And I actually, here where I'm at, like I say, Speaking of Greg, there he is.
Hi.
Speaking of, I've used a little bit of, my preference is sugar water with,
sugar water. Yeah. That's what
I do use right now. I'm using a little bit of corn syrup. It's cheaper.
Yes.
And the bees do well. I know people will argue that fact, but the bottom line is the bees do okay with it. And I actually diluted mine down a little bit. There's one of Greg's buckets right there. And anyway, Greg, we'll let you jump in on the party a little bit here. This is Greg.
Hey guys, sorry I'm late. Cindy, I've been enjoying the conversation. We were, as you know, sometimes the days just get away from you, and today I just couldn't get back to the farm fast enough. But I've been enjoying the conversation all the way back here, and so sorry I'm late. And looking forward to chatting with you guys.
Well, nice to meet you.
Likewise, I
glad you made it.
Yeah, we've been. My wife and I enjoyed checking out your Instagram channel and seeing all the cool stuff you do with the candles and your honey. And I think what we like about it is how passionate and how much in love you are with the thing that that you're doing there. And that's really easy to see when you look at those videos there. Cindy, I was catching some of the conversation about kind of your history, how you got into beekeeping, and kind of going back and forth from New York to Florida, sending some bees out to almonds, try to catch some of the orange flow, come back up to New York for apples and cherries. It sounds like you've been doing this for quite a long time, and you've had some good mentors kind of along the way. I've got so many questions for you, but one that I think a lot of folks could probably benefit from is as you and your husband have grown your business and your operation. I wonder if you could share some of the hard lessons learned as you guys kind of scaled up to get to that point to where you're at now.
Ooh, oh, I have had so many lessons that we had to learn on our own, and I was just mentioning earlier, one of them was pollination. We've gotten into some pollinations that at the end did not go well for the bees or for us. Um, Another thing, you don't count on the weather. You don't count on the weather because you just never know what that year is gonna bring, and you need to be prepared. You need to prepare your bees for whatever is going on in the world. And so those two that have been my biggest. Another one is mites. You just can't. A few years now, the mites have been a little aggressive, if I call it that way. Um, so you have to be on top of. You just can't let your guard down.
Yeah.
In order to like, oh, just because you put your medicine, you be like, oh, they'll be fine. It's you don't. How do I say it? I'm sorry, I get tongue tied.
Okay.
You just don't rely. You just don't rely on instructions. You don't rely on what people tell you, what other beekeepers tell you. You just, no, you can't. You
Yeah.
gotta stay on top of. You gotta stay on top of things.
We were actually just talking about that. I don't know if it was the last live stream or several before, Cindy. And it's kind of interesting you brought that up. Is a lot of folks are looking for a prescription. They're looking for a recipe on how to beekeep, how to treat your mites. And then when everything goes wrong and the bees are still suffering, folks are frustrated because I followed the instructions. I did all the thing that Beekeeper Bob said to do, or Beekeeper Joe, and the list goes. But there are situations where everything is completely different. Up in New York, you're going to handle things a lot different than if you were in North Florida, let alone South Florida, let alone if your bees are getting ready to head off and go west out to the almonds and back. So I like what you said there, because that's what's important. I think is what we try to express to folks is you have to be able to read the bees, and then you have to be able to take responsibility for them and be comfortable and confident in making changes and taking action that you need to keep the bees alive, even if it's contrary to what everyone else is doing.
Exactly. Even let me tell you, we have a best friend beekeeper 2 hours away from here, and what he goes through, we don't. It's like we're totally, even if it's 2 hours away, but
Yeah.
we are in like so different locations. We do our own ways, and it's just two different worlds. And what he does, it doesn't work out for me here, and vice versa. So he's got to figure out his place, his
Yeah.
location, and his bees, and the way he does things, because it's not the same. He was saying that he didn't make not a single drop of goldenrod there, and I did my bees in some places did 2 boxes.
Wow.
I was lucky enough, and I'm looking at him like we're only 2 hours away, but You just never know. You just never know. It's just
Yeah. Beekeeping is very, I mean, well, we've said it before, context is key. You can, like we were chatting earlier, you can read a million books, but you have to dig into where you live, where you have your colonies, learn that area, and learn your bees. You
yes.
know, take care of your bees, manage your bees. Just, like you say, a 2 hour difference. There's a 2 hour difference between Greg and myself. And one beekeeping tool that I took down to his place this year, that I can say I'm glad to get rid of that thing. It's a flow super. I tried that thing and I tried that thing and I tried that thing. I tried it 3 different times and I was never able to pull. I think I pulled 6 pounds of honey out of it. Was it? I took it down to
Oh,
his
a
place.
flow hive.
The
The
flow
flow
hive.
hive.
Yep.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I'm like, you said the floats, and I'm like, what is? I never
Yeah.
heard
I took it down to his place so that he can show, for his learning yard that he does with everyone, all the new beekeepers, and he can, maybe get a harvest out of it so that they could just see the ins and outs of, well, this is what a flow hive does.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And wouldn't you know it, take it down there, it gets knocked over from a storm. It gets, I mean, just everything happens this thing and harvested what 20 whatever 20 pounds out of it. And I'm just like, I sent a picture to my mom who originally had it, and she was just like, you know she was angry, but just that difference, from 2 hours, and even, you could have a difference of half an hour where you're at.
Yeah.
Just the plants and that flora in your region is entirely different. So you really do have to dig in and learn,
Learn your
your apiary. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah, I want to.
a lot of people. I get lots of questions on Instagram, like, "Hey, Cindy, can you help me out with this? My bees are doing this, this, and that." And I'm like, "Okay, so did you check this? Did you check that?" And they're like, "Yeah, yeah." So I'm like, "Listen, I cannot help you without looking at them, without like investigating what is it that, or your area, or your bees, or what is it that you're doing, or what did you do last week, because everything, every single thing, um how do you say it, um I got the word
every
in
little every little factor matters,
matters,
and
exactly,
it's
every little thing, from what you feed them to what, when did you feed them,
yep,
just every little thing just matters. And I'm like,
yeah,
I can't help you from just a simple question, because listen, I don't know what you did. I really don't know what you did, what you've bees gone through. I don't know. And I'm like, the only way you're gonna learn is just by making mistakes sometimes. I've
yeah,
been,
That's right. That's right.
yeah.
yeah, yeah. And from those mistakes, you can, I've made, oh my gosh, I've made probably 100 or more mistakes in my, 6 year journey that I've had so far,
That's it,
and well,
man.
a
You ought to write
hundred
a
or
book,
more,
man.
right? But it's from those mistakes though where, it really,
Figure out.
it speaks volumes for your character when you can, you take a step back and you, like you said, you figure out what exactly happened, what did I do wrong, and then moving forward, what plan you put in place. And that speaks volumes for, your character. And then your bees are going to end up, they will benefit as well, just because you learn and you grow. So
Exactly.
I know I've gosh, 2 years ago I think was the worst that I ever had, and it was just my negligence. I didn't treat like I should have, and mites overtook my colonies, and I
Been there.
went. I had zero. I lost all my colonies in the winter, and that's that moment where, I took a step back and, okay, what happened? All right, well, let's get a plan, and moving forward, I'll do this, and it worked. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Cindy, I wonder why, the audience tonight may range from folks that don't have bees yet to maybe have a couple, folks that are growing, that passion is growing, and they're moving into a sideliner position. There are some folks that are growing their sideline beekeeping career with aspirations of maybe going commercial. So I think we all struggle with some of the same things at different scales, and at what we do about it and how we attack some of those problems are going to be a little bit different. When you're getting into the type of numbers that you were talking about, 850, 900, 12, 1300 colonies, you kind of have to be doing things successfully enough to be able to maintain that type of scale. And that is really impressive for folks who haven't seen what just rows and rows of pallets or an entire truck full of 4-way pallets looks like. It is absolutely gorgeous in a completely unique way that a lot of folks maybe haven't seen, but also they might not really be fully aware of all the different approaches that we all take to do things as simple as maybe try to knock down mite loads, for instance. I know you were talking earlier having troubles with fungicides and miticides, and having those in contact with your colonies. I wondered if now I know a lot of the disclaimer, a lot of folks are a little close vested with exactly what they do to take care of mites and to keep things under control. So I'm not asking you to share anything you're uncomfortable with, but I wondered if you have a metric or something that you use to create a baseline as to the health of your colonies, and then what you are comfortable sharing on what you're doing to keep those viral loads and mites out of those hives.
Okay. Well, I do my test here and there, but I can actually read when my bees are under mite stress, because they're like, there could be a honey flow and they're just not bringing the nectar in, and you're like, okay, so these bees are under stress, let's check them for mites, and sure enough, they got mites. Or maybe they are under other kinds of stress. So when that happens, we're like, okay, let's pull, because we do the apivar strips.
Mm-hmm.
But we also use the what's the name of that thing? Oxalic acid.
Okay.
It's like an oxalic acid base, which I don't rely on. I truly hate it. I'm always nervous about doing that, because I've relied on that treatment once in my life, and my bees crashed.
Yeah.
Big time. I've lost over 50% of my hives, and I was just picking dead ones after dead ones after dead ones, and I said I would never in my entire life will rely on this treatment. And it was something that worked for another beekeeper, and he told me about it, and I'm like, I'm gonna try it. If it worked for him, it's gonna work out for me. And it didn't. And but throughout the summer, when we're like putting supers, we try to stay on top of the mites, because they still there. No matter how many times you treat them, they still there. They just they got their times where they just come out more. So we do the oxalic acid treatments during the summer, which is safe for to producing honey. And after we harvest honey, we do the apivar strips. Sometimes we even do twice. Like, we'll wait another 2 weeks, and then we'll just take it out and then just put another one in. And once they start producing honey, the goldenrod, and then we're like trying to take them out. It's a whole lot of work.
Yeah.
And so at that point, we do our goldenrod crop, and then right after that, when we start like being very aggressive, with the treatment, because it's when they start crashing the most. And then we get to Florida, we're gonna do another treatment there, and that's how we actually stay on top. Like, just I think we do more treatments than a lot of other beekeepers do, but we've gone through crashes and it's heartbreaking, and we don't want to be there ever again. I'd rather be safe than sorry, or overdo things towards their health, than not do it. So
Yeah.
yeah. Another thing
That's a
we
lot
do,
of important information. Yeah, thank you.
another thing we do is when we feed them, we do lemon juice. We put lemon juice in it because it brings the acidity level up, and that helps, keep the mites down.
Oh wow.
I've never heard of that before.
No, yeah,
Maybe worth trying. Maybe
we do. Yeah, we do lemon juice. We put lemon juice. Have you heard of what's the name of that? They sell it on the beekeeping supply stores.
I've never heard of that either.
As
you're talking about Honey Bee Healthy.
Yes, that's it. Honey Bee Healthy, and it's made from, what's the name of that grass?
Lemongrass.
Lemongrass. Yes, it's made from lemongrass, and when you actually open it, you can actually smell it. It's like overwhelming. It can work. Sometimes we use that in our feed, but we buy ourselves the lemon juice, and we put it in ourselves, and that, let me tell you, I feel like that has helped our beehives like a lot.
Oh wow.
Just
I've never heard of that. I'm gonna have to. I mean, you've sparked my curiosity there. I'm gonna have to look that up.
Cindy, are you talking about lemon? You're using lemon juice or lemon grass in your feed?
No, lemon juice. Like, you'll
Lemon
buy it
So for the citric acid, probably, yeah.
Yeah, those bottles of lemon juice, they're green. It says, the same that we used in here at the house.
How much do you put in like a?
Oh, that's I would have to ask my husband how much he does that. He's the one that's got the formulas, but I just know that he sends me to the store to buy those, and he puts it in. And there is a formula. I would have to ask him how much does he actually put in every tote, and share with you guys later. But I know that we do that, and every time we do that, let me tell you, my bees just love it.
Wow,
just love
Tim,
that is interesting.
Tim Huffman has a comment there about that, something about the
acidulated syrup, specifically absorbic acid, is known for its antioxidant properties. Sort of correlates with the essential oil methodology. Yep.
Okay.
Interesting.
And it says, and Don says lemon juice would be like using apple cider vinegar. So those are just some interesting, and I know that people do that. So
you've
apple cider. I've never done it before.
You've taught us something tonight, Cindy. I didn't know. I've never heard of that, but might be worth trying it.
Just because it really, when something works out for me, I just stick to it. And the lemon juice have worked for me.
How many
wonders? And
how many years have you guys been doing the bees? How long have you been doing bees, Cindy?
I've been doing bees. I just completed my 17th year.
Oh wow.
Oh my gosh.
So you guys, you know how to read a hive and how to know what works and how to tell if something's working or not. So it's kind of like you said, when you have something that works for you and your bees look healthy and strong, then my goodness, you got to keep doing that. Do what works.
We don't even check if we open up a colony and it's got bees just foaming out. We don't check for brood. We don't check for none of that. Some people will just like consistently try to pull frames of brood just to look at them. And my husband taught me the less you disturb them, the better they will do. So if you just open a hive and you see that they're up there just doing their thing and it looks healthy, just put the box on and close it up.
I would probably drive your husband nuts, because I like to sit there.
You like it, yeah.
Brian is so fun to have out at the bee yard when we go out and are working and trying to get through and get a bunch of stuff done. I almost feel bad for him because he has this look in his eye like it's Christmas morning and there's no presents under the Christmas tree. We're like, keep it moving, and
Yep.
he's got a fun way of Brian's got he's one. Brian does, Brian's probably the smartest because he's been able to maintain a very intimate relationship with the bees to where it stays special. It doesn't it's not a yield, it's not a unit, it's not for net growth. It's him enjoying the bees and that relationship, and I think that's beautiful. It's fun to see his eyes just go like big and say, I am not doing this. Thanks for showing me that I don't want to go this way.
And then normally what happens is I look down and Greg is about, we start right next to each other, and then he's about 10 or 15 feet down already from me, and he just looks over and I can see this look like I better hurry up. And every single time, what do I say, Greg? I'm like, I have to thank you because I never want to be like this.
Yeah. It is. I am that person too, Brian. I am that person that take my time to, especially if a bee's being born. I just love just sitting there, just watch them all pop out of there. And sometimes I even carry a little thing in my pocket to kind of help them out,
Oh.
And my husband's like, you ain't getting nothing done, Cindy. And I'm like, but thankfully I got you, Charlie. So it is hard. It is hard. I love nature, and I don't want to miss anything that is special, So,
Yeah.
But I also get it that we gotta get going because we only have a short time that we need to do this, and we have to do it.
Yeah.
Spendy, speaking of nature, well, you're probably if you're up in New York, you're I'm not sure where in New York you are, but you're probably similar to us, where you might have maybe another 10 days or 14 days of 55 degrees, maybe 60-degree temperatures, and then it's 20s and 30s at night. What are you guys doing to prepare your bees for winter, and when will you move them down to Florida?
So I got the truck scheduled for the 15th of November, and we usually do, before Thanksgiving, we like to be there and have our bees with the first bucket and not worry about it, because after November 15th, things start going crazy here in New York. The weather-wise, you just don't know. We could have snow. We could have a 70-degree day like today. It was 70 degrees. And but we don't like loading up bees in the snow.
No
way. Oh, no. Yuck.
And so we like to be out of here by Thanksgiving, before Thanksgiving. And
so go ahead.
So we the way we prepare our bees is like when we harvest, we make sure that we leave enough honey for them to make it from here to the trip in Florida in maybe a week or so before we start feeding. Sometimes that is my job. When we harvest, it's my job to make sure that the bees have enough honey, make sure that they're not heavy also, because when we put them in tractor trailer trucks, they got to go through weigh stations, and if they're overloaded and then they get sent back. And I've had that happen one time where we had to unload bees in order for the tractor trailer truck to be legal. Wow. That's my job. My job is to figure out the weight, make sure they're not gonna starve, make sure they're not gonna be overweight. And so we leave honey on them. And right now it's been a warm October. Well, we're in November now, but it's been so warm, and I've seen brood in some of them, and I'm like, girls,
slow down.
We don't have enough food here
Yeah.
for you to supply your kiddos. And so, you just never know. Again, you just never know what the weather's going to bring, and you have to be prepared for those. I've seen some of the hives were a little light. I go once in a while just to make sure, um, you know, to see what they're doing. Some of the hives were a little light. So today last night we went and bought sugar, and today we mixed up sugar and water, and we're barrel feeding out there in the staging yard. And
Wow.
tomorrow's gonna be another warm day, so they're gonna get to that. Whoever gets to it gets to it.
Yeah.
But that's kind of how we prepare. For the
I've-
most part, we try to be out of here. But
Do you have all of your bees in the holding yard or the staging yard right now? Are all of your
No,
bees
I
there?
only have half of them. I
About
gotta
600.
the other half. It's a little ways away from here, so they're like I got them from like 10 minutes away to like an hour. They're just
Wow.
all I got 32 bee yards.
Are
I
they
have-
all within
Oh my
that
gosh.
same area? Are they all
Yes,
within about an
yes,
hour?
I have them
That's
in
great.
things, and like I said, they're from 10 minutes to an hour. So the ones that are in an hour, that takes a long time for a lot of driving. It's a lot of time. And because it's been warm, I haven't been able to. Usually I do it during the day because when it's cold, they don't come out.
Mhm.
But this time of year, it's just been warm, and I've been having to go out every morning or every night. And my husband doesn't like working at night. He hates it for some reason.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know if it's got something to do with his eyes or what it is, but he's just like he'd rather do it in the morning.
Those
And
mean, spicy girls at nighttime run anybody out of there.
yes, and so in Florida, you can't even wait for the morning because it's so hot. 5 o'clock in the morning, it's so hot already. So we have to wait for the night till the sun goes down and it cools off, and then that's when we start moving bees. But 10 o'clock hits, and those bees are like ready
Wow.
to eat you up.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Does it take 2 trucks to get them down there? Pretty much 2 semi truckloads.
2 semis sometimes, yes, 2 semis, and we have a tractor trailer truck also, and he runs the rest of them. If there's like usually 288 will fit in his tractor trailer truck.
Oh my God.
Whatever it's left from the other 2, from whatever we have left, he will run it down, and then I'll run the equipment down. I drive a truck and a trailer with the equipment down and all my candle supplies and stuff.
This is awesome. Greg, earlier she was telling us she was a city girl and didn't even know what a bee really was. And now she's driving big equipment, heavy equipment around. She's driving the skid steer.
My grandma has a fit every time she sees me on a big tractor trailer truck or on a big truck, and she's like, "You have to drive that." And send me, like, you better be careful. I'm like, Grandma, you don't understand. It's a piece of pie now.
Yeah.
It's amazing how fast you can learn and the things that you can accomplish that you could never imagine or dream, not only with beekeeping, but growing a business and taking all those things on. Sometimes it feels like you're pushing those boulders uphill, but you just keep pushing, and then it gets lighter. And the next thing you know, you're so far down that road, and you look back and you can't believe, oh my gosh, you were that person who was not maybe afraid of bees or getting in and get started, and here you are talking to all of us about your commercial beekeeping there. Cindy, I wondered if you mentioned the bees, you try to get them out before the snow flies. Obviously, it's a pain to be working in snow and with ice and slippery conditions. How much of that has to do with is it too cold at some point for you to move your bees if they're in cluster and to get shook around and bust around on a truck, or has that not been a problem for you?
It's not been sometimes, yes, we have Octobers that have been 30 degrees. Okay. My husband is so wonderful running that machine. He's done it I think he's on his 30th year of beekeeping, but he
Wow.
started early with his uncle. And he's so wonderful at moving the bees. And I remember when I started with him, he says, smoke them bees, smoke them bees. You know, you got to get it in their entrance because we don't want to break the cluster. We don't want to break. And I'm like, what is he even talking about breaking the cluster? Later on is when I've learned that when you break the cluster, sometimes they won't be able to get back into it, and they're just gonna freeze to death. And but you know, it depends. We usually smoke them and we move them. He's so careful about moving them, and somehow we managed to get them there all in one piece.
Wow.
Teamwork makes the dream work, as they say.
Yes, the smoker girl.
Wow.
And I know how important it is to smoke the bees and not break the cluster. It is important.
Yeah, yeah. Your so for those on here, I know I programmed into Nightbot is dropping links for Cindy's Etsy store, and then also her website. The candle making, set aside. I honestly, knowing the number of colonies that you manage and the amount of work that goes into managing that amount of colonies, I have no idea how you fit in the hours in the week to make the candles that you do. It's what led you to want to get into the candle making end of beekeeping?
Because the one day I watched this girl making beeswax candles, and I says they look so pretty. I wanna,
Yeah.
you know, I produce my own beeswax.
Mhm.
Why not get into that? So I bought a few candle molds, and I just absolutely loved the whole process of it. And
Yeah.
and then ever since, I'm like, I got started. That's the way I got started, and it grew.
Yeah.
To the point that sometimes it's 1:30 in the morning, and I'm making candles out there because I can't fit beekeeping, and not just that beekeeping, but then I have to pay bills. You know, I have to come to the computer and see who's got messages, who's got orders. I gotta fulfill orders,
Yeah.
and I gotta make so sometimes I'm like 1:30 in the morning and I'm out there making candles.
Wow.
And yeah, but I love it. I just love. It's just a product, you know, that when it comes out of them molds, it's just like a satisfying thing
Yeah.
for me, especially because I'm more towards when I was younger, I wanted to be a decoration person, the decorated homes. How do you call
Like an interior
home
designer.
decorator.
designer? That's right. I wanted to be an interior designer because I got this mind where I always um look at everything, you know, put
Mhm.
everything together and it looks beautiful. So when I'm making candles and I bust it out of that mold and it comes out beautiful, I'm just like, I have an artistic um view. Is that how you say it?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So it's just I just love it. I just love it, and I wouldn't give it, you know, if I have to be out there 1:30 in the morning, and then I will. And if I have to hire somebody to do the beast for me, then I will.
Yeah.
You know, which
That's awesome.
fortunately I do have right now I have 3 guys that help on and on.
Well, okay.
Are retired, some of them are just part-time, and whoever doesn't come to work, I have to fill in for them. But you know, my husband and I have learned that nobody in this world cares more about your bees than you.
That's
Than you.
right.
That's
They
true.
will do the work perfect like you would. So even if you got 1,000 people working for you, you still have to be on top of them and make
Yeah.
sure that the work is getting done right. Not just not for the money, but for the sake of your bees. Because both of us, we just love our bees and we don't want them to get mistreated, you know.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Hey,
so
hey, Cindy, could you talk a little bit about with that number of colonies, how you actually, I guess, process your honey and your wax, your beeswax? Just briefly, do you have like a honey house with a large extraction setup, or how do you do that? And then as far as the
yes,
wax goes, what do you do for your beeswax processing?
My beeswax process, it's the old-fashioned way. My husband has refused to buy me one of those fancy machines. He's like, I can get it. So it's a pot. It's a pot. It's a big pot. The I call it the witch pot. You know, you'll see in the movies the witch moving the little
Witch's
spoon
brew,
around.
yeah. The witch's brew, yeah.
So we have one of those pots, and then he puts fire on the bottom, and he puts water in them, and he puts whatever cappings. We do cappings or what's it?
Do you use Burcombe?
Yes, or whatever frames that we got rid of. So he just puts it all in this pot, and then he usually takes all day long. He puts it at a slow fire, and it takes all day long, and then starts it at 9 in the morning, and by 5 it's done, and we start just pouring it with a pot,
Wow.
and try to filter it. And then later on I come here to my shop, and then I filter it even more. And it's an old-fashioned way. It takes all day long, for sure. But he loves doing it that way. I don't know why.
It is beautiful. I'm looking at your pictures. The wax is absolutely perfect.
The
It's
wax,
beautiful.
that's what he says. He's like, Cindy, the secret of a beautiful yellow wax is because you have to cook it in a slow temperature. And this is how I was taught, and this is how I'm going to do it. And he does. For some reason, he always ends up with this beautiful color.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to
And
mess with the idea.
I love the pictures too, because it does show that there is some variation even in the color.
Yeah.
Even with each batch is a little bit different. That's just one of the things that's so beautiful about beekeeping. And I think any type of process like this it's all pure, but it's a little bit different. Honey's the same way.
Yep.
So how do you do your honey? What do you do for your honey extraction? Do you use
I have a honey house, and we run the, how do you conveyor? It's like a chain machine. I don't know the name of it, to be honest. But
a chain uncapper, a chain uncapper.
Yes.
Okay.
So it's like a conveyor. So like it runs straight through, and then the chains break the seal on the wax, and then on the other side there'll be 2 people putting them in the extractors, or it's scratching whatever didn't get scratched. And so they put it in the extractors. I run 3 extractors, and so a day I can do 10 barrels a day.
Do you do it in the barrels? You put it in the barrels or tubs?
Barrels. Yes.
And do you sell those barrels wholesale, or do you sell all your honey, everything wholesale?
Yeah.
Well, you sell some of your honey through your website, but
yes. So yeah, I'll keep some honey for my website, and that's retail. But for the most part, unfortunately, my retail business hasn't grown that much. Sure. Yeah, that's it. So we do wholesales, and like I was mentioning earlier, we have beautiful customers that are Christian, and they believe in us, and we have built such a relationship with them, and they care about us, and we care about them, and it's all about keeping it. I don't know how to say it, keeping it in the circle.
Yeah, keeping it rolling.
Yeah. It's like you bless me, I'll bless you.
That's right.
How much? Question here from Tim. How much honey do you produce a year?
Woo! So in pounds, I would not know. Everybody always asks me how many pounds per hive, and my husband has answered that question a million times, and for the sake of my life, I don't know. But I know in barrels. So in barrels, we usually do 180 barrels.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yes, if it's a good, especially Florida. Florida, we can do, with all our bees being healthy, we can do 60 to 70 barrels. Here in New York, it's much better.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So yeah, we just did 110 in the spring, and we did another 28 for the goldenrod, which it was down. We usually do 60 to 65, but I was mentioning that you just don't know. I don't know what's going on with the goldenrod. I don't know if it's the weather, if it's the goldenrod. I just don't know. But it's the numbers have dropped down, not just me, but for all my buddies around here. So yeah, we do that. And then Florida, last year we didn't make a drop.
Wow.
From 50 barrels that we usually make, we didn't make a drop. It was a totally bummer. So we go, usually 170.
Wow.
Like a good year.
Man, it's a lot of honey.
Yeah, I can't even.
Well, they're about 660 pounds in a barrel, so I guess you can do the math.
You know what? When I got started on it, harvesting, I hated it. I hated it with a passion because you get sticky and not just that, but every time you're pulling, it's just the weather just says, hey, Cindy, we're going to send this beautiful muggy day. And it'd be muggy in a bee suit. And I just hated it. And I remember every time I saw an empty box, I'm like, oh, God bless you. God bless you. Like, the box I don't have to pull. And Charlie be like, my husband be like, that's just who's gonna pay your bills. And but now I'm just like, I got over it and I love it. And now that we actually have help, I don't have to pull as many because it is hard for a woman, to be honest with you. It is very hard, even though I try my best to pull some weight. Some of them boxes can be, especially the deeps, can be 60 pounds. And that's just doing it all day long, consistently all day long.
It's hard. That's hard work for anyone. For anyone. I mean,
sweating, just sweating,
Yeah. This year, I know with like my harvests, in the spring, I spent 8 hours, and I mean, you're just exhausted. You're exhausted after 8 hours of extracting honey. You're pulling supers, you're spinning it, then you're putting it back out. That way they can clean it, and it's hard work. Yeah,
it's sticky, messy work too, isn't it?
Oh yeah, extracting it's the worst because I'm an outdoor girl. I love just looking at the sky and the sun and the trees. And then when I'm inside of a building for 8 hours, it's like I'm depressed, like I don't want to be there. And then I'm covered in honey. And by the time I got home, I'm very frustrated and grumpy, very grumpy. And my husband's like, "Who's gonna make dinner tonight?" I'm like, "You gotta make dinner. I ain't make no dinner." I get in that stage that extracting honey is my worst job on beekeeping that I would say.
That's funny. Dinner's coming from Pizza Hut.
Yeah, you better take care of dinner because I ain't.
Oh man,
that is one of the cool things about bees, though. Is what is it about those bugs in a box is all different. It's different for all of us. What brings us back there? What keeps us drawn to them? For some folks, they absolutely love the sound and feel of their boots sticking to the concrete floor with everything being coated in that sticky stuff. Yeah. Some folks can't stand it. Some of us are in tuned. Our passion is to watch queens hatch and grafting and making splits. And it always amazes me how different all of our approaches are. And then how the bees speak to us all differently, I think is pretty cool too.
Yeah, it is. Like I got my favorite beekeeping jobs and he's got his favorite beekeeping jobs, and we don't match on those, so that makes us a great team because whatever he doesn't like, and then I find it like fascinating, and I'll do that. And like scraping covers, he hates scraping covers, but they gotta be done, and I just love it. Something about the sound of like that just I don't know what it is. I just love it. I could scrape covers all day long.
Oh wow.
He finds it like a waste of time. Like, I just want to get out of here. And so yeah, that makes us a great team. Whatever he doesn't like, he's I like, and whatever I don't like, he likes, and the job
That's
gets
awesome.
I know
That's
we've
so
kind of
cool.
mentioned it a little bit so far, but Cindy, where can folks find all of your candles and your honey and all the things that you have to offer? Where can folks find out more about you?
So I have a website and an Etsy, and they're both sweetcindysHoney.com on Etsy as well. And then on Instagram, every social media I have, even Facebook, it's all Sweet Cindy's Honey.
Yep.
Yeah,
That
that's
is-
And you have a tremendous Instagram following. It's like over 100,000, isn't it? How many is it? It's like 105,000 or something
I
followers.
think I hit
120, I think, isn't it? Yeah.
Is it more 120? I just glanced at it. So
I don't know.
that's one thing I need to like take some lessons from you on how to do Instagram. So maybe I'll
I
have
think the community that I built there, it's more so towards they like how I take them to the backstage of what I
Like for
actually do.
the behind the scenes. They like to see behind the scenes.
And then they just find it fascinating that I can actually take my time to, not to teach them. I'm not a teacher whatsoever. Like, I'm not gonna be there explaining how to do things, but like I can show you, and I can show you behind the scenes of what I do. And then a lot of people have told me, even they don't even speak English, and they said, Cindy, thank you so much, because I've learned a few things just from watching you. And I think they find it fascinating that especially being a girl, because beekeeping is hard.
Yes.
It's hard for a man, so
Yeah.
imagine for a woman. And I'm out there doing it full time. This is my full-time job.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
That's
it's
awesome.
my inspiration. Like, if this girl can do it, I can too.
Mhm.
I agree. And I watched today I watched some of your reels, and one of them I really liked was the one where you got in a situation where you couldn't get out of, like you're moving some bees and you got stuck on a road somewhere and you couldn't get out of there. There were trees everywhere. You were telling a story.
Yep.
Didn't you say that was your worst beekeeping moving experience or something like that? Why don't you tell us that story?
Oh my goodness. That's a fun story. It wasn't fun when it happened, but now that I look back at it, it's even my husband laughs. So we're moving bees in Florida, and it's dark. It's muggy, and so it's somewhere in November. And it was actually the last drop of the night. It was 11:40 something. And I was so happy, because usually we're out there moving bees until 2, 3 in the morning. And it was the last drop, the last, just the last of everything. And I was so happy. I'm like, we're gonna get done. Oh my goodness, I'm gonna get home early. And he made the wrong turn. And he's like, this doesn't look like the road we go to. He's like, I says, no, I think you made the wrong turn. I think it was the next aisle over. And he's like, yeah. So there's a ditch in front of us. So there's no way for us to turn around, because the roads are so narrow. And with a trailer in the back, it's just like you can't. So he's like, I'm gonna back out of here, and then so we can turn on our road. We back out of there, and we hear this boom, and then actually we felt something pulled us back, and I'm like, what in the world is going on? So he stopped and was like, I don't know what's going on. We thought we hit a tree, and so we get out, just to find out that our skid steer and trailer was in the ditch. And it was
Oh,
a big narrow ditch too. It was like the biggest one that they had in that farm. And so there was no way for us to, because we still in the road of trees, the orange trees. And so we're blocking the road, and then our trailer is in the ditch, and we can't pull forward, we can't go back anymore. So the only thing we had to do is unhook the trailer, and that was gonna be a job, because as soon as we let go of the trailer, you know what happens?
It keeps going downhill. Yeah.
Straight to yeah, and that's what happened. And but for that, we had to unload the skid steer first, because we couldn't unhook the trailer, so both of them go down. So we had to do the skid steer first. And so he's like, I'm gonna pull forward, and you just let go of the chains, you unhook the chains. And I'm like, Charlie, if I unhook those chains, you're going down. He's like, I know, no kidding. We're arguing the whole night. It's like, you did not see that. And he's like, you're supposed to be paying attention on your side. I'm like, that wasn't on my side, that was behind me. And the whole night we're like just arguing back and forth, and sure enough, I unhooked the trees, and there he goes, straight into the water. It was a miracle. He actually didn't flip the machine, backwards. And he managed to keep it straight, and just went down in the witch, and he got covered in water. It was like I said, like a 10-foot ditch.
Oh my gosh.
Only half of it was full of water. And he's like, okay, so I got the machine out. So he gets out of the machine and leaves it in the ditch. And now it's time to unhook the trailer. So I don't know, for like a half hour, we're trying, because everything was tight, like everything was just, all the chains and everything was just tight. And there was no way that we didn't have a machine to like unhook the trailer. I don't remember how we did it. But anyways, we unhooked the trailer, and there it goes down into the ditch. So we get out of that road that we were in, and we went to the BR, and he went and got a loader from the farm. They had a loader there, and they don't take the keys out of their tractors in Florida or here either. But so anyways, he was able to drive the loader there, and luckily it had forks in it, because they were doing sod. They were loading sod the day before. And so we unloaded the bees with that loader. But by the time we got there, the bees were just so mad. They were just mad, stinging us, very aggressive. And but we managed to unload them. And that thing is not very smooth to unload bees, that bumpy. We bumped those poor bees so bad. And but we got them unloaded. So we were only like 2 miles away from our farm, where we keep all our tractors and trucks and everything. So we went back to the farm, and he got a tractor, and I drove the truck back, and then so that we can pull our skid steering trailer out of the ditch. Well, the tractor wouldn't do it, because it was so steep like this. It wouldn't do it. So like, okay, let's go get the tractor trailer truck but it was so, it was a challenge, because we didn't have enough room like this. It was a road like this, and then we have trees. So it's not like you have enough room to like turn around and back out or nothing like that, because otherwise we would hit a tree, and the farmers would have probably kicked us out of there. So we're trying our best not to hit any trees. So we went and got the tractor trailer truck. And hours just going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. We got both of them out, but it was like, I don't know, 5:30, 6 in the morning when I got home.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, and this all happened somewhere around 11.
Oh man!
See, we're excited, and it turned into a nightmare.
And it was a nightmare, and there was nobody to call, because especially because we're in the middle of nowhere. So it's not like there's a neighbor out there. No, especially in Florida, the groves are like so far apart from people, and I don't think anybody would have come and rescued us, to be honest. So That was the worst part, that there was nobody we can call, or it was just the two of us. Basically.
Wow.
But we
What a
got
story.
it. We got it, and we learned the lesson that we always gotta look around.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, I tell people beekeeping is always an adventure, and sometimes it's more pleasant than others, but you just never know what you're going to get into. But that's a great story.
No, but all our messes always happen every time we move bees in the dark. It's so dark out there, it's like even your headlights they don't help at all.
Yeah.
So it's like
crazy.
sometimes he says, even when he unloads them, I'm like, how do you do it so well? He's like, I don't know. I just do it, and it's just out of luck sometimes.
Yeah.
So I could never do that. I would quit beekeeping right there if I had to do that. No way.
When you only have 11 hives, you don't have to move them.
Right?
Ryan's got it figured out.
You got to figure out. That's right.
Oh man,
That's what I would do. If I didn't have him, I would just have max 5. I think 5 would be good enough for me to handle.
It sounds like you guys make a pretty good team, though.
We do. Most of the times we're always arguing because he wants to do one thing and I want to do another, and like, who's gonna win? And I'm like, I told you to do so, and he's like, I told you to do so, and then like, it just. But at the end, it makes sense. It just, we get it done, and the bees get done, and I feel so we're pretty successful.
Yeah,
I think you are too. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree. I'd say you are. I mean, just seeing, in this time, hearing more about your operation and everything that you do. Yeah, I'd say
definitely. I'm gonna tell you, it definitely takes a team, because we've been through so many troubles just like that, and we had employees that just quit right there and then, and they just leave you with the mess. Which somebody like me, like, it's the two of us fighting the world. I can't quit. I just can't quit. I have to go through it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's the best part, that if it's, even if it's a brother and a brother, but they both actually have their own backs, and actually have this vision of what they want in their future, and they don't give up on the smallest BS,
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. Well,
wow, what an awesome chat.
I know.
Wow.
Yeah. Unreal. Yeah. Hopefully everybody, I know Matt has been plugging up the links to her website, her Etsy. I've thrown them up as well. So definitely check them out. I know, and I think I might be mistaken, but was this your first sale on Etsy?
Yes, it was.
Wow, look at that. That's cool.
Got it, Brian. And every time I go to Etsy and I go to the reviews, you're the first review.
Look at that.
Yeah, I always say, and then you always come to my mind. I'm like, that
Yeah.
Brian.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Cool.
No, it's been great having you on and getting to chat and learn more about your operation. It's
been great chatting with you guys. It's yeah, I mean, I'm very comfortable right now. I thought, I get nervous when I talk to people and this and that, but you guys made it feel very comfortable. So
awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah. So you have coming up, you've got probably in the next 2 weeks, you'll be getting them ready to go to Florida and on to the next phase.
Yes.
So you've got busy times ahead of you.
Yes, it's busy right now, especially because, like I said, we're just trying to leave things ready here. Like, when we go, we don't leave heaters here because it'd be just very expensive to warm up a honey house or even the apartment we got here. So we have to drain waters. We got, turn everything off.
Wow.
We gotta make sure everything's clean. Like we just cleaned the honey house last week, and so that it's ready for when we come back, even though we still
Mhm.
clean it again. Um, so we gotta do that, and we gotta make sure all of our equipment, tractors, whatever is that it's out there, we have to put them all in storage. And so it's busy. It's busy, especially because we run also a topsoil business.
Oh wow.
Yeah, we have tractors and things that they need to take care of, and we're just trying to fit all these projects and before we leave, and at the same time we just want to leave so soon
Yeah.
because our bees just, that's what they do, they just eat all day long.
Right.
So,
They
and
sure
Yeah.
do.
yeah, we don't want them to go without.
Yeah. Yeah. Greg, what do you have coming up here, buddy?
Oh man, well I'll probably save some of that. Hopefully next week. And doing some traveling and going to try to get up with you guys then. But we're busy here on the farm. Winter's coming. We're just trying to get the bees, get them fed back up, make sure the mites are knocked down, get them ready for their next phase of the year. Meanwhile, we're just working at the shop, getting things built out. Got some
Mhm.
expansion plans we're excited to talk about here a little bit later. So we're getting ready for the Hive Life conference. We've got queens, we've got buckets. All those are available online now for order for next year. Nukes are also ready to go too. So if you're interested in joining us at the Learning Yard, learning hands-on here in Ohio, go to nature'simagefarm.com. Check us out. We'd love to see you at the farm and kind of welcome you into this fold, this fellowship and community of
Mhm.
just fantastic beekeepers. So, like I said, nukes and queens, those are ready to go. We're taking orders for bucket feeders, for a bunch of really fun stuff coming up too. That's going to be ready for Hive Life. And then here in the near future, starting this weekend, folks are gonna be picking up their Hive Life syrup and their fondant here at the farm. And it's just one thing after another. I'm going to thank Cindy for taking time and to share her family's experience and journey in beekeeping. We all learn so much from each other when we do that. So I'm going to thank you, Cindy and Bruce. Thank you and Brian for everything that you guys do. And Brian, I want to especially thank you for the video that you just put out.
It was great.
Not many folks know that. I'm always on the other side of the questioning, and got to get to interview folks all over the place. But other than many years ago, I had somebody come out from another YouTube channel and podcast to interview the farm things that we were doing years ago. But I had to
Oh,
really
wow.
think hard, Brian. I think you were the very first beekeeping interview where I was on the other side of the mic. And
Really?
yeah, so that was a lot of fun. I want to thank you for taking the time to come out and
That was
visit
awesome.
and meet and do all the work on the editing. That was a lot of
I
fun, and that
I
was
gotta
fun to be able to share who we were.
I gotta ask one more time.
What?
What's your favorite movie?
Wizard of Oz, man. Come on. The Wizard of Oz. There is so much philosophy in the Wizard of Oz, and there's so many things. There's you just check it out. It is for me.
All
It's
right,
cool.
all right. And I can't even pronounce the author. Masa. What is it again?
Masanobu Fukuoka, One Straw Revolution. Check it out too.
There you go. There you go. No, that was it was a lot of fun. I've been meaning to do that for some time, but it almost seems like every time when I'm down, we just
I'm always
we
cracking the whip on you. You're always building this and doing that and cracking
right,
lids.
right, building
But
walls and
it was absolutely an honor, Brian, and I was humbled that you were the first one to really give me that longer format beekeeping interview. So thanks, Brian.
yeah. No, that was I had a lot of fun doing that. So yeah, yeah, a lot of fun. So Bruce, what do you have coming up here other than feeding and just riding it out now, huh?
That's pretty much it. I'm just I treated with Apivar, and I treated with Apigard some of my colonies, and I got mixed reviews on that I mentioned earlier. And
Mhm.
just trying to put some food out for them, make sure the weight's built back up. And Cindy knows, and Greg too, running pallets. Sometimes you'll lose one here or there. You got to figure out ways to plug those slots,
Yeah.
and just trying to monitor and see which ones I've got. 70 70 something colonies on pallets right now that are kind of, I've had a few losses there. So I'm going to try and pick the strongest ones, try and get 60 out to California this year with my buddies.
Oh, okay.
Cindy, one of the guys I go with, the guy that kind of organizes everything, I think they send 8 or 9 trucks out to California. And so I've just kind of piggyback on one of those trucks. And me and a local guy right here, just kind of my mentor in the pollination. He's the guy that has 400 colonies between us. And we try to help Tyler out as well. So it all works out well, but I'm just trying to kind of figure out what I want to do when I grow up still. If I want to continue to I've got so many, I try to do a little bit of all of it, Cindy. That's my problem. I do honey. I do a little pollination. I'd like to get into some nukes. I'd like to start raising some queens. I just cannot figure out how to just streamline it and just do a little bit. Plus I'm doing the YouTube thing, trying to do that. And so I really have a hard time figuring out an exact plan. And plus I work full time, kind of like you mentioned. I guess your husband used to work 4 10-hour days. That's what I do. I have Mondays off, so I work Sundays. I try not to do much, but on Saturdays and Mondays, it's almost like I'm in the bees all the time doing stuff. And so just kind of trying to catch my breath and figure out what I want to do next year. And I just ordered some pallets and some lids and just trying to get things ordered and figured out for next year. And, hopefully I can figure it out. I make it through every year.
We all make it through.
But I really need to figure out how to streamline and how to really figure out what my plan is and decide, because I just have a hard time doing that. I want to just do it all, and you just can't do it all.
No,
that's my problem. I'd also, now after seeing your candles, I want to figure out how to do candles. So I've just got so many things, and I need to figure out. And I do want to reach out to you. Maybe I will, just to help me a little bit with Instagram. I'd like to figure that out. I know that's kind of the trend right now. Instagram and the reels is a trend. And you can also, you can use those reels to do YouTube shorts for your YouTube channel. I've been trying to do a little bit of that. So I really liked what I saw today when I was kind of looking through your stuff. I see why people want to follow you, because you give that behind the scenes picture of what you're doing, but it's really fun. It's like you just give us little clips of what you're doing, and people can get an idea of a lot of what you're doing in a very short clip of a video or a reel. You just do a great job with that. And so you're talented, and you can see the art. You say you're kind of artsy, you like artistic things, and you can see that for sure in your Instagram, the way you do that, and everything you do is just done just top notch. It's really a good job. So we appreciate you being on here, and
thank you.
We're going to continue to follow you and see what you got moving forward. It's been fun.
I'm excited to. I'm always excited to see what I'm going to put out there next.
Absolutely. That's what the fun of being a creator of any kind is, exactly that. You just never know what's coming up. And with bees, it's so unpredictable that you can, every day in the bee yard is a new adventure, a new video you can create. There's something new you can do with it. And it's just one of the amazing things about it.
That's right.
Yeah. Anyway, but that's kind of all I have. It's just kind of keep plugging along and seeing where these crazy bugs in the box take me. That's what we're all doing.
You'll figure it out, Bruce.
I don't know. I will or I won't. That's my father-in-law used to say, "You will or you won't," and that's true. just keep plugging and doing and improving along the way. And even if I don't, reach the goals that I think I'm going to reach, I'm better for it. You just learn as you go along.
That's it.
That's right.
That's all we can do.
How about you, Brian? What's got your final words there? What are you up to?
It's just like right now I'm like Bruce. I'm just riding, the weather right now, and I'm feeding like crazy. I went through all of that Pro Suite that I got off of you, those buckets, and with the weather how we have it right now, I'm probably going to end up. I've mixed up 2 more buckets, and I'm going to check the colonies tomorrow. It's just I'm going to maintain the feed on them. My Apivar strips are due to come off around the 14th, so I'll pull those, and depending on the weather, I might check, my mite counts, things like that, and if the weather's cooperating, I'll probably hit them with some OA treatments, just because we have very, very little brood right now. So I just want to make sure that going into the winter, my colonies are set up. But they look they look so strong right now. So I don't want to count my chickens before the eggs hatch, but they're looking good. So it's been a good season up my way. So that's it. So
Good. I hope you guys get a good winner. You know?
yeah, it would be nice if we had just a steady winter,
Mhm.
just those steady cold temps where the bees stayed hunkered down instead of, and Greg knows our last few winters that we've had up here, it's just roller coasters where one day we'll have 60 degrees, the
Yeah.
next day it's 20 degrees. And it's so hard on them because they're breaking cluster, they're eating
Yep.
through their stores like mad.
Yes.
So I would, as much as what I hate to say it, I would prefer just to have that cold winter for a couple months,
Yep.
and that way we can just sit back and relax. And when the weather breaks in the spring, you know,
Do your thing. Do
yeah,
what you gotta do.
yeah,
Yeah.
start up the season then, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Time will tell. So
Yes. Yeah.
Mother Nature knows.
Yes.
So yeah, she knows. But again, I just want to say, thank you. And everybody definitely check out, her website, her Etsy, because I've been watching. I mean, being the very first, purchase on Etsy, I've been watching your Etsy shop, and it's amazing, amazing everything you've done on there.
Thank
So
you, Ryan. Thank
yeah.
you.
So, but Greg, you're always good with those last words, buddy. So, what are the last words?
Well, just thankfulness. Cindy, thanks for sharing you with all of us. I want to thank all the our folks here who've been hanging out all night, commenting back and forth, joining this community, fellowshipping with each other. It means an awful lot to us. And as always, want to remind folks to be the lighthouse and be the change you want to see in this world. We'll see y'all next time. Thanks for watching.
Thank y'all.